there was more films that you could have used, and why it was that you used the two that you ended up using.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So yeah, I wasn't planning or I wasn't looking for archives. So I think my first kind of initial kind of discovery of the archive came very accidentally. And it's a collection of 10 films actually that are filmed by the same Scottish missionary who was living in Palestine in the 1930s and 1940s. So yeah, in the summer of 2023, before the genocide started, I kind of came across. Uh, I guess I found that this footage existed, but and also that the footage hadn't been digitized, so it was in its original kind of reels, sitting there for almost 60 years. Um, so that kind of prompted me to reach out to the curators and start the process that took a couple of months, that also the film said. Um, but what kind of drew me to the two films about flowers specifically was the fact that it gave me this endpoint to a very complex and kind of a difficult history to really decipher in just like 15 minutes in a short film. But I thought by bringing in the flower and seeing that the original footage kind of completely erases Palestinian existence at the time, made kind of I found the way into the archives, but then it needed kind of a process of 9 months to really understand what my perspective of the film is, rather than how I guess reject the colonial gaze of the missionary. So that I think that's where more the second and third part come in, and kind of that's when the process I think took a start. Yeah.
Did you do a lot of editing from those two films? I know that you've done a lot of work to identify the Palestinians that existed in those two films, but was there much footage to go through to discover that?
Yeah, I guess the footage itself, yeah, it's 45 minutes, both films together. So then I had to, I guess I began by understanding what I'm looking at specifically, and try to put my own thoughts aside. I started by actually watching it over and over and over again, and watching it in ways that then kind of ended up being the form of the film, like slowing it down and zooming in. Um, and I knew that I wanted to bring, I guess, the Palestinians in, but I didn't really know how, I guess, the rhythm would go, or I didn't know what the structure of the film would be. And I think that came quite organically, because every time I feel I would have a moment where I would be emotionally affected by an image, such as the boy kind of crossing the fields of wildflowers, then I would kind of try to not take like a concrete decision right away, and like think about it, and whatever image would stick with me for multiple days after, then that's the one I would put in the film. So it was more of kind of that embodied process of from the one side looking at the archive, but from the other side watching at images coming from Gaza, and thinking how can the archive speak about today as well.
Right. Very interesting. Thank you.
There is we like to think of it as kind of the invisibility that is turned into power, and the way that Palestinians are kind of made it visible in the film. We played with all those ideas of all those sounds and all this life that, yeah, the missionary cannot really control, but then they kind of come and overpower him also through the image. So yeah, that's kind of the background behind the song.
The use of the text on screen rather than you doing a voiceover, for example. What was the choice behind that?
Yeah, so the interesting thing is that I started kind of the process thinking I would have some kind of voiceover, but then I felt that it didn't feel appropriate with the way I was trying to invite everyone in the film, and it wasn't. I don't see it as a personal film, but I'm just a small part of the narrative. So I felt that having titles could first kind of replicate the way that the missionary was conveying information through the silent film. Um, that way I kind of have taken out, which was through intertitles and but then I think there was an opportunity of using especially Arabic text kind of towards the end of the film to have it on the image itself, and also disrespect in a way the form itself, and filmmaking as a colonial kind of tool that it was created through that lens. So I like the idea of having the title in the middle, especially the Arabic text, to also kind of disrupt the beauty of the image in a way.
Yeah, no, really interesting. Any other questions, folks?
What about what looked to be the pedestrianised domestic scene that was being conveyed by the colonial visitors? And what was like? How did you feel about looking at that? And when you saw the people of the country who were looking at this spectacle in front of them with eyes of interest, curiosity, and some kind of smiling and welcome, without knowing what was to happen next, but what was behind that? What were your feelings about that?
You mean as the Palestinians being smiling towards the camera?
Yes.
Yeah. That was an element that I actually realized towards kind of the end of the process, more or less. And I think the big part was that I always had the idea that there would have been this hostile relationship between the idea of I guess colonizer or part of a person part of the empire and the indigenous person. But then watching the film over and over, I realized that both sides are human, and there is something really interesting in the way that there is quite a diverse type of response to the missionary, and some are hostile and some are friendly, and some also find the camera a playful tool, like a kind of a toy in a way, and the kids especially are playing with the camera, and others don't even know what the film camera is at that time. They know just photography, so him standing there for a while probably made them curious in what he was doing. So I had to really critically think on what people might be thinking, and put kind of some of my own thoughts aside, having a big picture. So in that way, I really felt that people being warm to him makes sense, because they wouldn't really know what's coming just a decade later. And it also made me reflect on all of us and how we really don't know what's happening at the moment, or what's kind of the steps that we're leading to, like 2, 3, 5 years down the line. And so it made me reflect a lot on also the present, and how we're part of much bigger pictures that maybe we don't have the clear idea at the moment as well.
Thank you very much.